January 23, 1944. 04:12 hours. The Indo-Burma border. The jungle is still black, soaked in mist and breathing with the low hum of insects. A thin crescent moon hangs over the canopy, barely piercing the dense crown of teak and bamboo. Beneath it, a Japanese forward position stands half awake, rifles stacked against tree stumps, sentries whispering about the unnatural quiet that has settled over the night. The air is heavy with humidity, thick enough to taste. The smell of damp earth mixes with the faint scent of sweat and spent gun oil. Somewhere deep in the undergrowth, a branch snaps, then another. Every man hears it. Inside a makeshift command dugout reinforced with rotting planks, Lieutenant Nakamura leans over a lantern-lit map. His eyes are tired. His uniform is soaked from days of monsoon rain. Reports from the previous evening still lie scattered across his table, enemy patrols sighted, tracks found near the river, possible infiltration. Nothing confirmed, nothing solid, just tension. A young runner pushes aside the camouflaged netting at the dugout entrance. He whispers, "Something is moving out there." Nakamura steps outside. The jungle greets him with silence, an unsettling total silence. Even the insects have paused. Then it comes. A low, rolling war cry, deep, rhythmic, unlike anything his men have heard before, carves through the darkness. It begins as one voice, then multiplies. Louder, closer, echoing through the undergrowth with the raw, primal certainty of men who are not attacking but hunting. The Gurkhas are coming. Within seconds, every Japanese soldier is on his feet. Some freeze. Some whisper prayers, others clutch rifles with trembling hands. What they say in these first moments, what slips out in fear, disbelief, or stunned recognition, will reveal how even hardened soldiers react when the most feared jungle fighters on Earth charge through the night. To understand what Japanese soldiers said, and why their reactions were so visceral, we must return to the shifting tides of the Burma Campaign. By early 1944, the Imperial Japanese Army controls vast stretches of Southeast Asia, from Malaya to the sweeping jungles of Burma. Tokyo believes the terrain is its ally. Thick jungle, unpredictable weather, and narrow mountain passes that seem impossible for Western forces to penetrate. But this assumption is beginning to crack. For the Allies, Burma is not just another battleground. It is the gateway to China, the last major partner still resisting Japan on the Asian mainland. If Burma remains in enemy hands, China's supply line collapses. The entire front might follow. The stakes could not be higher. Commanders in Delhi, London, and Washington know they need soldiers who can move silently through jungles, strike fast, vanish, and return with intelligence that no map or aerial photograph can reveal. They need fighters who understand fear and know how to weaponize it. They turn to a force already feared by armies across continents. The Gurkhas. Recruited largely from the hills of Nepal, Gurkhas carry a battlefield reputation that borders on myth. Their kukri knives, broad, inward-curving blades, are not ceremonial symbols but working tools of close combat, clearing brush, cutting paths, and in the final, desperate moments of a fight, settling it. British High Command deploys Gurkha battalions across the Burma front, often placing them at the spearhead of assaults. Their ability to move through near-impenetrable jungle astounds even veteran officers. Japanese intelligence officers, after months of encounters, quietly circulate warnings. The Gurkhas do not fear death. Do not let them get close. Meanwhile in Tokyo, planners remain confident. They believe the Japanese soldier, the heishi, is unmatched in spirit and endurance. And indeed, Japanese infantry have already surprised the world with their willingness to attack fortified positions, fight to the last man, and endure starvation, disease, and isolation with unwavering discipline. But deep inside the jungle, reality is shifting. At the Sino-Burmese border, skirmishes grow frequent. Japanese outposts send nervous reports describing enemies moving like shadows. sightings that last seconds, night ambushes where attackers melt back into the foliage before a single shot is fired. Officers debate whether these stories are exaggerated. Soldiers whisper among themselves that they've angered forest spirits. By January 1944, morale in several Japanese regiments, especially those isolated in monsoon-soaked outposts, is beginning to fray. Supplies are inconsistent. Medical aid is scarce. Many soldiers are sick with malaria or dysentery, and always from somewhere in the trees comes the sense of being watched. The Japanese army still holds strong positions. They remain disciplined, loyal, and certain of ultimate victory. But beneath that confidence, a new, unfamiliar tension grows. Because the jungle is not neutral, it seems, somehow, to favor the men who have lived their entire lives in difficult terrain, men carrying kukris instead of bayonets. And soon, in one remote outpost near the Indo-Burma border, Japanese soldiers will witness something that pushes this tension to its breaking point. A Gurkha charge. A moment so shocking, so overwhelming, that the reactions spoken in the darkness that night will echo through war diaries, field notes, and surviving testimonies for decades. January 23, 1944, 04:27 hours, jungle outpost near the Chindwan River. The first unmistakable sounds arrive like rolling thunder over the undergrowth, a chant, low and relentless, a cadence carried by dozens of voices. Japanese sentries freeze. Their eyes widen, scanning shadows that stretch impossibly long under the ghostly moonlight. Lieutenant Nakamura grips his rifle tighter, whispering to himself, "It can't be so many." The Gurkhas are not simply advancing, they are flowing through the jungle, a living wave of movement. Their boots make almost no sound. Only the occasional rustle of leaves, the faint snap of a branch betrays their presence. They strike suddenly, rifle fire, grenades, and the terrifying sweep of kukris. Every encounter is brief but decisive. Private Sato, huddled behind a log, murmurs, "By the gods, they are everywhere." Another soldier, eyes darting, mutters under his breath, "No retreat, no mercy." Fear and disbelief thread every whispered phrase. In the command dugout, Nakamura tries to maintain order, shouting commands, but words fall flat. Officers are cut off from their men. Communications falter. The jungle itself seems to conspire against them. He hears a soldier scream, then silence. They vanish into the trees, someone shouts. Eyewitness accounts from Japanese diaries recall the surreal nature of the attack. "We did not know where they came from, only that they were upon us. Our bullets met air. Even when we tried to regroup, they were already behind us, striking with kukris. I thought we would be annihilated." The Gurkhas exploit every natural advantage: hidden ravines, dense undergrowth, and the element of psychological terror. Japanese soldiers, trained to fear artillery and coordinated assaults, are unprepared for the intimate, relentless brutality of close-quarter jungle combat. Panic spreads quickly, as men question whether retreat is possible, whether resistance even matters. By 04:45, the Japanese outpost is in chaos. Reports mention officers repeating the same phrases over and over. "Hold, hold, they cannot be here." Yet they are. And as dawn approaches, survivors speak less of strategy and more of amazement. "I have seen the Gurkhas move like shadows. I have never known such fear." This is the moment that defines the night. A collision of human determination, jungle mastery, and psychological shock. In these few minutes, words escape Japanese soldiers not as orders, but as raw, instinctive reactions. Disbelief, terror, respect, and the recognition that they are facing an enemy unlike any other they have encountered in Asia. The first gray light of dawn filters through the dense canopy, revealing the shattered remnants of what had been a carefully organized Japanese position. Soldiers stagger from the undergrowth, faces streaked with mud, sweat, and disbelief. A few clutch rifles still hot from battle, others simply collapse, unable to comprehend how swiftly the Gurkhas struck. Lieutenant Nakamura surveys the aftermath. His map, once neatly spread on a table, is soaked with rain and dirt. Supplies meant to sustain his men for weeks lie abandoned in the mud. Reports arrive in fragmented form. Entire squads missing, defensive positions overrun, communications severed. He quickly realizes the severity of what has occurred. At higher command, radio transmissions are urgent. Captains and regimental officers describe ambushes with phrases such as, "infiltrated from all sides, impossible to hold." An enemy moves silently, strikes lethally, then disappears. Anxiety spreads up the chain of command. Rear echelon officers, previously confident in their intelligence reports, now question their assumptions. How could a force penetrate jungle defenses so efficiently and so unexpectedly? Even propaganda cannot mask the truth. Japanese newspapers days later would vaguely report difficult engagements with enemy irregulars, but the reality in the field is far more dire. The psychological impact of the Gurkha charge exceeds any physical losses. Soldiers recount whispered confessions. "I have never feared anyone like them," and "they move like ghosts, and yet they are all too real." For the Gurkhas, the aftermath is measured differently. Officers compile reconnaissance notes, tally enemy casualties, and ensure the wounded are evacuated. Yet the operation's true significance is the demonstration of jungle warfare mastery, the ability to strike, vanish, and instill fear. British High Command notes the success in dispatches to Delhi, framing the charge as both tactical triumph and morale booster. Across the jungle, the lesson is clear. Japanese units must reconsider their defensive doctrine. Jungle terrain, once thought to favor the occupier, now belongs to those who know its secrets. Leaders at all levels, from platoon sergeants to divisional commanders, are forced to adapt rapidly, aware that conventional assumptions about jungle engagements no longer apply. The psychological echo lingers. Japanese soldiers in private diaries and whispered conversations repeat the same words. "We were unprepared. We did not understand them. The Gurkhas are not like other men." By sunrise, this acknowledgement becomes the foundation for a new, cautious strategy. Fear, respect, and tactical recalibration define the immediate hours after the charge. The Gurkha charge on that January night left marks far deeper than the immediate battlefield. Strategically, it forced the Japanese army to reconsider their approach to jungle warfare. No longer could they rely solely on entrenched positions or numerical superiority. Small, mobile, highly disciplined units, masters of stealth and terrain, could penetrate defenses previously considered secure. Historians note that the psychological impact of Gurkha operations extended well beyond individual encounters. Letters and diaries from Japanese soldiers reveal recurring themes: awe, terror, and a grudging respect for their opponents. One officer reportedly wrote, "The Gurkhas move as if the jungle itself is their ally. We are strangers here, and they know every shadow." This acknowledgement was not simply hyperbole. It shaped operational decisions for months afterward. The success of Gurkha units also influenced Allied command. British and Indian officers increasingly prioritized jungle reconnaissance, infiltration tactics, and night operations. Lessons learned in Burma informed broader campaigns in Southeast Asia, from Arakan to northern Burma, demonstrating the value of specialized troops and adaptive leadership. On a human level, the encounter underscored the unpredictable nature of warfare. Ordinary soldiers, conditioned for conventional battle, found themselves confronting forces who exploited terrain, fear, and surprise to lethal effect. Leadership decisions had to account not just for logistics and firepower, but for the psychological state of men in extreme conditions. Moreover, the Gurkha charge entered the canon of military legend. Stories circulated in training manuals, war memoirs, and post-war analyses, how small, determined units could shape the outcome of engagements far larger than themselves. Japanese veterans would later recount the encounter in interviews, often with the same whispered phrases from that night. "We did not know how to fight them. We could only survive." These accounts contributed to a broader understanding of jungle warfare and the limits of conventional military doctrine. By late 1944, the legacy of such encounters was clear. Japanese forces in Burma had become increasingly cautious, defensive, and fragmented. Allied planners recognized that the combination of local knowledge, audacity, and adaptability, qualities embodied by the Gurkhas, could decisively shift campaigns. The Battle of January 23 was not a large-scale engagement in terms of troop numbers, but its long-term significance lies in how it reshaped expectations, tactics, and leadership across both sides. A single night of jungle combat became a study in human reaction, command decisions, and the enduring truth that in war, the terrain and the spirit of men can change everything. As the sun rises over the dense jungles of Burma, the events of that night linger long after the guns fall silent. The Japanese soldiers, physically intact or battered, carry with them memories of an enemy who struck with a precision and ferocity that seemed almost supernatural. Their whispered phrases, their stunned confessions, reveal something profound. War is not only fought with bullets and strategy, but with fear, perception, and respect. For the Gurkhas, the charge represents more than a tactical victory. It is a testament to training, discipline, and an intimate understanding of the land they call home. It is a moment where courage, skill, and psychological insight converge, reminding commanders and soldiers alike that mastery of the environment can outweigh sheer numbers or technological superiority. Historians looking back see in that jungle encounter lessons that transcend a single skirmish. The Japanese reaction, the fear, disbelief, and recalibration of tactics, underscores the human element in warfare. Leaders are tested not only by enemy fire but by the reactions of their men, the unpredictability of terrain, and the pressure of split-second decisions. The echoes of January 23, 1944, reach beyond military archives. They are preserved in diaries, in oral histories, and in the enduring legend of the Gurkhas. They remind us that even the most disciplined armies, faced with extraordinary adversaries and unfamiliar landscapes, can be humbled, and that the courage, skill, and resolve of a few can alter the course of many. In the end, what Japanese soldiers said in those dark, trembling moments was not just a reflection of fear, it was a recognition of excellence. And that recognition, captured in whispers, commands, and stunned silences, continues to teach us about leadership, human resilience, and the unforgiving nature of war.